Thank you everybody for watching this video. Push the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and push that notification bell. It will help us tremendously to grow this channel. We have a bunch of stuff coming out for you, the fans, unique content, so please stay tuned. JHK here for the AllStar, and joining me right now is undefeated Canadian flyweight Jamey-Lyn Horth. She's sitting in a coffee shop. Where are you right now?
Well, I'm in Squamish, BC. I'm just hanging out at the Cloudburst Cafe. I just was over at Squamish Social Sports, somewhere I worked for 10 years, picking up a tracksuit for travel, and thought I'd stop by and get a coffee. It's like my go-to, so just hanging out.
Now, when you look at your record, you haven't competed in 22 months. I know you had that Contender Series opportunity that slipped through your hands, and a lot of girls in the regional scene, they don't want to really fight you. But the silver lining is that you get to train and continually train and develop. How has the development been the last couple of years?
I think just having like these opportunities where I had these fights, so I've had like the camp scenarios and just never had the grand poobah, if you will. I really think that that's forced me to kind of go through the motions of like having a fight. But I also don't have the stress of having a fight. So I've been able to really just like focus on just getting better, so like this time off, like it could go one of two ways for a lot of people. But for me personally, I've explained before, I think I became a sponge to the sport. I was just adapting to new things. I've had new coaches and new scenarios and new techniques, and like everything is just like all of a sudden gone like boom. It's like, oh, this makes complete sense. Like I've got time to focus on that. Like I'm not working a full-time 9-to-5 job. Like this is my 9-to-5 job. So a lot of changes came, with this layoff, but like for me personally, I think on the better end of that outcome. So
basically putting the pieces together, right?
Yeah, totally.
And what have you seen in yourself mostly? Like what part of your skill development has been just extraordinary?
I think my wrestling and my grappling, my grappling's always been sort of underrated. Most of my fights, I've always just been like a striker. And, I remember my first fight outside of BC, I was fighting in Quebec, and the announcers kept saying, oh, will the kickboxer submit the jiu-jitsu practitioner? And oh my gosh, this is so crazy. And I'm like, these people don't know me. Like I haven't got to really sell myself as a full round athlete. And, I think that's what it comes down to, is that I am an athlete. I'm a multi-discipline athlete. And, I really think that my grappling is good and has been good for a long time, but it's just gotten that much better. And my wrestling is just like skyrocketed. So.
And you yourself, 4-0 as a professional, 100% finishing rate, all in the second or third round. So, it takes a little bit of time to kind of get that momentum. Which fighter has been the trickiest to figure out and finish?
I think my fight in Quebec was probably one of my more difficult fights. I think it was a combination of, like I said, being somewhere different at first, having that mental sort of like get through that mentality part of being somewhere else. Everything's a little different. And she was tough as hell, man. So, she ended up going on to win brown belt no-gi just after that. So for me, like I wasn't ranked at the same as her, but to submit her, was not something that we thought was going to happen. We thought we were going to stand and bang, and she's got good boxing. So to be honest, I think it was just like, having a game plan A and game plan B and C. Like sometimes you just don't know what you're going to have to implement. And so I think, we kind of went through a bit of every game plan that we projected. So that one was probably one of my most difficult fights.
Now you return at LFA 20 or 120 main event, vacant flyweight, title up for grabs. What does this opportunity mean to you, and what are the implications if you win?
I think this is a great opportunity. LFA is obviously a very well-known company. Everything they've done, they're champions. Pretty much all of them end up going to the UFC. And I think at the end of the day, that's kind of what we're all striving for. I had somebody say some really good positive things to me recently, and it really stuck with me because it's how I treat everything. And it's just one step at a time, like one goal. I've got a big goal in mind, but each fight and each training session is just one little chip away at the greater grand scheme of things. So, I think this is a really big step for me in my career. I think, going out with a bang, I think winning a belt and having this opportunity is really going to showcase things for me. And I think it's really going to just give me that extra edge and push on to the next bigger things around.
What did that person say to you?
Well, he just said, he said exactly what I, basically what I just reiterated. He just said, like, don't get caught up on like that end goal. You know what I mean? Like, have that goal, but like, don't forget the steps and don't forget where you came from and what it's taken to get there. And, like the steps, like take the steps, enjoy the ride, climb that ladder, So you could skip steps, of course, but like, why not? Why not enjoy the process and be in tune with it the whole way through?
And your opponent, Mayra, she's the most experienced fighter you will face. She's faced some good opponents in the past. She has good names on her resume. What type of fighter do you see?
I see definitely a fighter that's very well-rounded. She's got experience in the cage. She's got 12, 13 fights in the cage as a pro. I think she's going to be good everywhere. And, like you said, sometimes my fight finishes or second, third round. I have no problem going 5 rounds. I'm built for endurance. I'm built for speed. So I'm ready for a war and may the best man win. So that's kind of the mentality of this fight for what I think. She's good everywhere and I'm good everywhere. So it's just going to be a battle of the bands.
The gas tank, is that something you also focused on in the past 22 months?
I mean, as an amateur, that's what I had. They called me the Roger Rabbit. I had lots of little nicknames. I was always running around the ring and I always went the distance and I would be completely fine by the end of the fight. So, conditioning is something that, yes, I do focus on. But it's just something that like I just have. I'm athletic, like I said. I don't just slump off out of fight camp. I hike, I bike, I dirt bike, I mountain bike, like I power lift, I do logger sports, I rock climb, I have dogs, like I swim, I paddleboard, like I grew up, I played basketball, football, baseball, hockey, you know what I mean? Like I'm born and raised in the recreational capital of Canada. So for me, sport has been my life. It's taken me to university. I traveled throughout Germany, Holland, France, California playing soccer. So I'm used to being in this situation. So for me, it's like second nature. It's just home to be an athlete and to be pushed and challenged and put in dark places.
Is it true that people that have a soccer background, they do kick a little bit harder than normal people?
I can attest to that because when I first started, I was probably about 158 pounds. And I had just big soccer legs. I had no arms. I had no upper body. Like all I did was kick. That's all I wanted to do was kick. And I just recently watched some of my first kickboxing tournaments and I was like, well, that makes sense. Like why I kicked a lot. I do think so. I think that, chamber in the hips and just repetition for sure. Definitely a little bit more power behind those kicks.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier some changes. Did you have changes in your coaching staff? Who's surrounding you for this training camp?
Like it's always difficult to find lots of females. We're all pretty spread out throughout the lower mainland here, but we have a couple gyms in the city that we all meet at a couple times a week. I think for the most part, there's about 6 or 8 gyms throughout the lower mainland, and each gym has like a token female. So we all kind of collaborate twice a week and bang it out. There's 15ers, 25ers, a couple 135ers come down and we've either fought each other or we're never going to fight each other. So we just help each other grow and build, one of the girls, Lupita, I fought her twice as an amateur. She's in the UFC. She fights at 115. So, that knowledge and having her come and go from that higher level and that experience, it's like, I know where I sit as an athlete and I know where I belong as opposed to, lots of girls that don't get that opportunity. But for changes in my coaching staff, it's pretty much been the same across the board. I just I have a new striking coach, Jay Johnsey. He's been absolutely amazing. Throughout this fight camp, like conditioning is one thing that I always have on my hands. I have had some nutrition and stuff with Carl Baumier. He's been awesome, great friend. Met him this last year. So, just some really great positive people involved. My old original coach, Adam Ryan, he's been popping his head in, and he's got guys like Arjun Buhler and in 1FC and a bunch of big name guys. So Tristan Connolly. So it's nice just to be surrounded with people that are like-minded or in those situations that I'm in and going to be in. So for sure.
Yeah. And in the BC area, you got like legends there that are, either coaching or fighting, like Bibiano. I've
Uh-huh.
seen you talk about him, and I
Mondays
saw.
and Wednesdays, I'm with that guy. That guy, like, I walk in the room, and like, bless his soul, like, there's probably 15 of us in there, and he's like, it's whatever she wants today. We're taking care of her. It's about her. Everybody's doing this. Everybody's doing that. So like, Bibiano he's a legend, man. He's a gem. He's super great human being and an amazing training partner.
Definitely one of the nicest guys I've ever spoken with, and he's also in training camp himself, I believe.
He actually just took off to Brazil. Yeah, he's fighting. I think not
Yes, yeah,
mistaken,
yeah,
something
something
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He's
yeah.
got a big
So
fight coming up.
yeah, definitely, and that's good to hear from him. We haven't seen him in a while, and even Dennis Kang, I saw a photo of you,
Yep.
rolling with him. He's Pride legend, man. That goes way back.
Yeah, Dennis is awesome. He, again, another guy, a sister gym of ours in the city, Checkmat, that we train at. I've been going down there and using their guys for rounds in the cage, and Dennis is right there, and he's just like constantly feeding information and getting the thumbs up from a guy like that, and after the fact of a training session and having him be like, you look great, like you're so ready to go, like carry on, like it's just fuel to my fire, like being surrounded like by these legends and like these guys, these old school guys that I'm like, yeah, like this is great, man.
Yeah, building that confidence. Now, with that confidence, with everything going right, what type of performance are you expecting out of yourself?
I'm expecting to put on a really great main event. I think it's going to be a little bit of everything. I think there's going to be some striking. I think there's going to be some grappling, and I'm really bringing a little bit more grit this time. So I'm hoping to make it a bit of a bloody mess. So that's kind of my game plan this time.
We're at the end of 2021. Where do you want to be at the end of 22 with your career?
I'm going to be in the UFC. I'm going to win this belt. I have way too much support, time. Like I said, I'm surrounded by the best. Like, how do I not have these opportunities to be anything better than what I'm at right now? It's only going to be upwards and onwards. So I think next year you're going to be seeing me under Dana White.
In the octagon.
Oh, yeah.
Now, one last question. I wanted to pick your brain about a topic: open scoring. It's starting to be implemented, throughout the U.S. and other parts of the world. What is your take on this type of judging and how it will affect fights?
To be honest, I mean, like per round, like, I don't know. I think it gets to be too political and too broken down at that point. You know what I mean? I really think that a fight needs to be looked at as a whole. There's aspects to the fight that, yeah, like per round. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I think it takes away a little bit from the whole thing. Like knowing what you're going into and out of each round. I think it needs to be a one big pocket. You look at the control of the cage, you look at the damage, you break those things down, but I think it needs to be on a broader part of the fight as opposed to each round individually, personally.
So you don't like the style of judging right now as we have it, like the boxing style. You want the fight to be judged as a whole, like whoever's the closest to finishing the fight, whoever did the most damage, all of that.
I mean, isn't that kind of what it started with? Isn't that kind of what fighting was? Like, to be honest, I'm old school and I'm still new to the sport, like I just think it's always the best should fight the best. And, I understand politics and the entertainment business, but I think it should be scored on a grand scheme of, yeah, damage, control, and who's closer to finishing the fight, for sure.
All right, well, we're going to see that. We're going to see someone getting close to finishing the fight December 10th, LFA 120 main event, vacant flyweight title. Jamey-Lyn, thank you so much for the time and enjoy the fight.
Yeah. Thank you so much.